That's the game. Oh my gosh, that's the ending of the game. Well, how about that? All right. So, yo, I like this game. Okay. I've played a number of RPGs and I realize the flaws of this game. I realize how lackluster it is. I realize all of that kind of stuff. But, and I don't know how much of this is nostalgia, but this is a fun game for me. I love exploring. I love the feeling of adventure. I love just going to all these different areas and forests and plains and caves. Just the feeling of exploring and all that kind of stuff is very fun. So I do like this game. Okay. West 64 post-stream review. Here we go. So I'm going to go through and just give a number for each of these and then see what the total lands out to be to see what kind of a score I'm going to give this game. So let's find out together, shall we? Now, each one has a different multiplier to it, okay? Because each one is a different level of importance to me. Let me just tell you, regardless of what the score this game gets, I like this game, okay? But it has some flaws, and I'm going to address those, okay? Story and characters. Consider the narrative and characters, including voice acting. Are they convincing, memorable? Do they enhance the experience? Well, there's no voice acting, so that's irrelevant here, okay? And there's also no story here, so that's irrelevant here. The story is weird. It's, you lose your dad, so you go look for your dad. But then on your journey finding your dad, you stop by all these villages and towns and cities, and they all have an issue, right? Someone's stealing from us. Someone's a murderer. Someone did something, and you have to go find the element. It's like the same cycle over and over again. It's very, very basic, very, very primitive, which is a fault. As a game developer, you should probably try to avoid that kind of stuff. However, when I got into this game, I had never played any other RPG games. I wasn't really into RPG games. So for someone like me getting into this game, dipping my toe into RPG, that level of watered down story was perfect for me. I was able to get engrossed into it back when I was, 13 or 14 years old without any being confused or anything like that. So I didn't mind it. However, I think the most memorable thing about this game is Brian. With his stupid hair that sticks up like this, right? That's kind of what people remember from this game, if they remember this game at all. They remember, isn't that the one with that weird hair, right? That basic. So out of a 5, you guys, I'm gonna give this a 2. It's pretty low, really. Probably, I could see somebody giving it even lower, but people do remember Brian. Brian is somewhat of a memorable character, so I'm gonna go with 2. There you go. Music and audio. I did enjoy the music in this game. A lot of memorable tunes, a lot of beautiful music in this game. When it's sad, it can be sad. When it's happy, it can be happy. I feel like I'm exploring when I'm listening to the music. It's effective at what it's trying to do. It has catchy tunes, has memorable music. It's effective at doing what it does. The problem with the music is there's just a handful of songs. There's not enough music. I think when you go to different planes, when you go to different areas, they should have different, more often they should have different music, especially in that last portion. Once you get through the desert, I really think that once you start to actually hunt for Mammon and do all that sort of, after you collect all the 4 elements, they should really do something with the battle music to make it more menacing or just at least different. So to let you know, like, okay, now we're starting to really dig into this game. But they didn't. They just kept it. All the battle music was the same. It got very boring. So even though I like the music a lot in this game, I'm debating between 3 and 3.5 on this. It's definitely not a 4 because there's the lack of variety. If they had more variety in music, it would be above a 4. But since they had low variety, it's going to be less than a 4. But how much less than 4? 3 or 3.5? I'm going to go with 3.5. I'm going to go with 3. That's where my gut tells me to go, 3.5, right? It's really solid music. The music is really, really solid. There's just not enough of it. Graphics and visuals, I'm going to say for the time, this is an above average looking game. This is an above average looking game, a very good game. I like all the little flourishes they put in Brian. When he wins a battle, he does a little dance, a jump, I like that. When he opens doors, it looks very fluid and natural. When he casts spells, it always looks very fluid and natural. So they got a lot of the graphics and the visuals right. And it looks a lot better than a lot of games, its contemporaries, I feel. The issue with the graphics is there's so much recycled textures and things like trees, rocks, faces of objects. It's just very copy pasted. There's a lot of copy pasting in this game. So even though the graphics looked good and the animations looked good, it's just the lack of variety of textures really hurt this back. Yeah, reused assets. Thank you, Winandar, for helping me with that. For sometimes I know what I want to say, I just don't know how to say it. So that's why I need you guys. All right, so I'm gonna go with a 4 on this though, because the game does look good. It does look good. It's a good looking game, I think. And his little cape flapping behind him when he runs around, like all the little touch to the details, I think are really there. It's just, I think for the grand scheme of things on the large scale of it, they just maybe got a little lazy maybe. All right, level design. I do like the levels in this. I like the structure of all the planes when you go to all the new territories. When you finally get out of the main castle where you start and you open up and you see the huge plane and you just start running into it. And next thing you know, there's a cottage, or there's a little entrance to a forest, or there's an entrance to a castle over here. Like just the sheer exploration involved in this game is so good, especially back in the day when I wasn't really familiar with RPGs, and that type of scope of gaming was extraordinary. And it still is. It still holds up today. I found myself during this replay, like anticipating the streams, like just, I really want to get back into it. I want to explore the desert now. I want to explore the forest. So I like all of that. The issue though is the environments are pretty repetitive. There's a forest, and then there's another forest, and then there's a plane, and then there's another plane. I think the most unique environments were the desert and the blue caves, because you didn't see them repeated anywhere. There's no other deserts, there's no other blue caves, but there's caves, and then there's more caves, and then there's forest, and there's more forest, and there's plains, and there's more plains. Maybe like snow-capped mountains, right? Maybe like a marsh. Maybe like it just needs a more variety of areas, and they didn't really have that. So for this, I really did like the level design. It's just the fact that a lot of them are just so copy pasted. So I'm gonna go with a 4 on that with level design. Decent level design, not bad at all, I don't think. Gameplay, well, gameplay is the most important to me. It has a 6 times multiplier, and I beat the game, and I beat the game again. So the gameplay is good enough to have me do it. Like, it's good enough to have me keep coming back. It doesn't ruin, nothing is game breaking in this. It's all fine. My issue with the game, I do have some issue with the gameplay though. A lot of misses. I don't know why Brian misses so much. With the avalanche, oftentimes, like, no rocks even attempt to hit the enemy. And when they do attempt to hit the enemy, oftentimes it's a miss. I don't know why I can cast a spell on myself and miss. Okay, I'm thinking of the shield that I can put myself, that I can give myself. I don't know why that would be missable. That's and just the sheer oftenness that I miss is just way too much. Way too much. It's aggravating. It's called Quest 64 because it's on the Nintendo 64. Thank you, Manicio. Yes, it is. It's called Quest 64 because it's on the N64. Maybe that should have been a criteria that I'm grading. Title. Does the title indicate the type of game it is and the console it's on? Yes? Okay, it gets a 5. Oh, Manicio, you're so funny. Oh, the encounter frequency is way too high. And at first I thought maybe it had to do with the fact that I was under-leveled, and if you're under-leveled, you get an encounter more often, but that is not the case. Like, regardless of how strong I am, I just, every few steps, sometimes you have another encounter and then another encounter. It's way too frequent. So they definitely need to work on that. And had this game been released today, they could just patch that with an update. It's super easy to fix something like that. But unfortunately, you know, in the era before the internet, the game you released is a game that's complete. Like, whatever game you release, that's the game that it is. And that's the game that it will always be. So unfortunately for Quest 64, the game that it always is one that you miss too often, and the encounters are too often. So that does hold it back. It does. It's frustrating when you're trying to do it and you just constantly are missing, or you can't take 2 steps before you get another encounter. That really bothers me about the gameplay. But there's a few things I do like about the gameplay. When you just walk up to a door, you just open it. I kind of like not having a button to push. I wish the same thing would be true about chests. If you walk up to a chest, you just automatically open it. I don't like having to find that exclamation point over your head at the exact right moment to push the open button. That's annoying. I like that battles take place in the overworld. You don't have like a separate mini map for battles. I like that. And I like that you can move during battle. That's kind of neat. Now, if they remade this game and they made it where you did have a separate mini map for your battles and you can target specific enemies, I would have no complaints. I would be happy with that. Okay, that would be a great change to the game, right? It's better. But for the time, right, maybe they didn't know. They were kind of exploring different ways to have an RPG, and that's just kind of the way they did it. And so in that sense, I think the game kind of gets in its own way. And maybe at this point, I'm starting to ramble. So let me just give this a point. I'm going to give this, as much as I like this game and the gameplay, it's very, very flawed. I'm going to go 3.5 on this. And unfortunately, it means the most to me, so it gets a 6 times multiplier. Let's see what score this gets. C-. And that's what I think this game deserves. This is a C tier game. You guys, there's a lot of flaws. They took a lot of shortcuts in this. The story was really, really lackluster. The leveling up system was a bit, a lot of it was overlooked as far as, getting into the specifics of things. A lot of the enemy animations were the same as far as like what magical power they use. There wasn't a lot of variety. So yeah, it's a very, very, very bland RPG. I just happen to adore it. I really like this game. I enjoy playing it. Also, keep in mind, I'm not, or at the time, I was not an RPG fan. Okay. Back in the Nintendo and the Super Nintendo era, I was playing Mario. I was playing Contra. I was playing Ninja Gaiden. I was playing those types of games. Like, I was not about trying to sit and read a bunch of dialogue, okay, follow along on this grand, huge story, and take my meticulous time with every single battle. I was not about that when I was 11, 12, 13 years old, okay? I wanted to jump on things and just slash them and then have them disappear. That's it. So this type of slow-paced RPG game, this turn-based RPG, I was not trying to play these types of games. So the fact that Quest was good enough and fast-paced enough to get someone like me to play it, like, that's going to hold a special place in my heart for a long time. And whenever since playing this game, every other turn-based RPG I've ever played, like, this game opened me up to the idea of even playing those types of games. So I'm definitely looking forward to continuing my journey in RPGs. And in fact, on my last stream, I was talking with somebody and we were talking about some RPGs of the SNES era. And the Super Nintendo, I was not playing RPGs. So there's a lot of RPGs on the Super Nintendo that I never played. So we're talking games like Chrono Trigger, some of the early Final Fantasies, the Mana games, the Secrets of Mana. So I definitely want to explore a lot of those games. So if there's any of those types of early RPGs that you can think of that you think I might enjoy, let me know, and I want to stream them. I want to do like a first time through on those types of games, because prior to the 90s, or like up to the 90s, I was not playing RPGs. It wasn't until, the Xbox 360 and the PS2 and the game. It wasn't until those later consoles when I finally started to play RPGs. So it would be nice, I think, for me to go back and experience some of those very, very early old school original RPGs on the Super Nintendo. So let me know what you think in the comments, what RPGs you think I might enjoy, and I'm happy to stream those ones. All right, everybody, I had a blast playing Quest. I had a lot of fun playing this one, and if you were watching along, I love you for that. Okay, I love the fact that you're willing to spend your night watching somebody play some old obscure RPG game that I had a blast with. Take care of yourselves, and I will see you later.
Too bad about Kenny. Life's a big city.